Hi, it's Dee from Inspired Health by Dee, and I'm really excited to be here today and to introduce my special guest, Lisa. Thank you for coming on, Lisa. Lisa is a holistic wellness practitioner, and I've known Lisa for a couple of years, and I've been to some of her events as well as worked one-on-one with her, and I've got real benefit out of it personally with my own endometriosis journey. And I love her energy, her beautiful energy in the space that she holds for her clients. And I'm really excited that you're here today, Lisa, to share with my audience what you do. So welcome.
Thanks. Thank you so much for having me. It's really great to be here, and you're amazing, and you're an amazing practitioner as well. And it's so great to be sharing, different modalities and having a conversation with you, and your amazing community to share other ways of healing.
Yeah, I'm really excited that you're here. So did you want to start off with telling us a little bit about your story and the people that you work with and what you do?
Yeah, so maybe if we start off with my story. So my story started, I think it was, predominantly in about 2012, 2013. I was what I thought was on top of the world. I was performing at work, I was winning awards, recognized by the staff and the management team, enjoying what I was doing. But on the other side, I was also pushing myself really, really hard. And I had all of these events accumulate throughout the year. I was over exercising because I was going to marry my husband. So I'm like, I've got to fit into this wedding dress and I want to look good and I want to feel good. So I was over exercising. I was overworking and pushing myself. As I said, I won these awards. I wasn't eating properly. So I wasn't giving myself the right fuel. It's like, we're like a car to some extent. If you don't put the right gas or petrol into the car, then it conks out. And that's what happened to a friend of ours. Well, we actually don't realize that our human bodies are the same. So we need to fuel ourselves. And I wasn't. I was highly carbohydrate loading, not having enough vegetables, protein bars with a whole heap of synthetic stuff. And so, over exercising, not eating properly, putting mental and physical stress on myself. And a lot of that mental and physical stress had come a long way before that. A whole heap of imposter syndrome, a whole heap of A-type personality, overworking, not good enough, not good with boundaries, all of this stuff, anxiety was accumulating over years and years and years. And so it's kind of like the perfect storm for me when I got married. I'm like, something isn't right, and my energy level started to plummet, and then I was diagnosed with glandular fever, and then I didn't recover and got diagnosed with an autoimmune disease, which was Sjogren's syndrome, and my health just got worse and worse and worse. And so then I was eventually diagnosed with Lyme disease and co-infections. I had heavy metal toxicity. We had mold in our house, so that affected me as well. So I also had a bout of quite significant shingles as well. So, I went from thinking to some extent and feeling on top of the world, and then just my whole world falling apart with chronic infectious illness, but really an impact on my mental, physical, spiritual, emotional health. One aspect crumbled and it impacted everything.
Yeah, so you really understand what it's like to live with a chronic disease.
Absolutely, absolutely. So whilst I may not have, endometriosis, I do know what it's like to live with, with a chronic illness, and for it to really, really impact, your health and well-being and your life and your lifestyle, because I couldn't function. I was pretty much in the four walls of my house. And I also had, I had all of these symptoms. I remember one day I had like 40 symptoms in the one day. I kind of wrote them all down. And, you don't know what's going on. You're just like, well, hang on. I know that something is not right. I know what it's like to be well. I'm not at that place. And, there's a whole heap of stuff that comes up for you. emotionally, mentally, physically, in terms of like dealing with a lot of these, symptoms and not knowing what's going on.
Yeah, and that's the same for women with endo, is that there's, like you said, it can be the physical and the social and the emotional and the physical and the spiritual aspect as well. There's just so much going on. So how can you help with that?
Yeah, so, we were having a little chat beforehand, and, we're both very much about, multi-modalities and integrative approaches, because, for most people, for myself, for yourself, for your clients, then it's not just a one method or, one pill approach. It's looking at those different aspects. So we spoke about, the nutritional aspect. People need fuel.
Yeah.
So, I help and support people in terms of, fuel and nutrition, because I'm a nutritionist. You help, for example, in terms of, naturopathy and movement and exercise.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just going to say, yeah, and that's how, like, I manage my own endo, is the multidisciplinary approach, and that's the principles that I follow with my clients as well. Is that it's all about having a good surgeon, and then looking out for your the movement, and then, like you said, the fuel, and herbal support, lifestyle changes, and then there's that other component that I guess not many women know about, is that the emotions are really important as well, and your mindset, and things that can get you stuck. That is really important. And I know you know about that. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That's my specialty. My specialty is really working with people from a brain perspective, from a body perspective, from a nervous system perspective, and using and looking at energy and frequencies to really help and support the body. So coming at it from, a different aspect, kind of like the way that I often describe it in sometimes, like in terms of the brain and the body, is sometimes when you try to look at things in terms of, emotions or mindset, and the spiritual side of things, sometimes a lot of practitioners may look at things from a mindset and behavior change perspective. So that can be really, really important in terms of, looking at the mindset and behavior change. That uses a particular part of the body that uses a particular part of the brain, which is the prefrontal cortex. And so that is very much about thinking, planning, questioning, positivity, journaling and talking. And there's a lot of research we know that supports that and that method and that approach. So that's one way of getting into the body and into the brain to help, process emotions and things. But what can happen is, for most people that I work with, and people who are very stuck in where they are, that approach can be really challenging, because people who are stuck in chronic illness, with high cortisol and high stress, the body's got a lot of inflammation, is under a lot of stress and a lot of emotional stress, then that part of the brain kind of goes offline. And people find it really hard to process things. So that can be caused by stress, that can be caused by, by trauma, it can be caused by pain. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, by pain. And so I know for me personally that, some practitioners, or, there's a lot of people who talk about, just think positively, and, just think this, or just say this. And you're just like, okay, but I feel really stuck, and I can say this, but I actually feel like I'm getting worse, and my thoughts are focusing on this, and it just doesn't feel right. And the reason being is because often that part of the brain is kind of offline, but we also have, when I spoke about the nervous system, so our nervous system keeps us safe and can go into an aspect of fight, flight, or freeze mode, which again are modes that are trying to keep us safe, and they protect us and shut us down from certain things. And so, you know, for me and a lot of people who are stuck in chronic illness, that stuck feeling is like that frozen feeling.
Yeah.
Frozen is like, oh, I can't get out of it. Like, I've got this pain, or this practitioner has suggested that I do this, but I just can't do it. It just, like, it feels impossible. And so that's where, so the approach I was talking about before was that kind of conscious mindset and behavior change, which is kind of known as a top-down approach in terms of working with the brain. But then we can kind of, instead of going up that highway, which you kind of, there's a roadblock on that highway, we take another approach, which is what we call a bottom-up approach in terms of the brain and the body. So we focus on supporting that nervous system, that fight, flight, freeze mode, working with the nervous system, working with the brain in another way. So that might be at a subconscious level, and also working with the body. Because you might be able to change, some people can change their thoughts, but if you change the thoughts, but you haven't changed the feeling of it within the body, then it can stay stuck.
Yep.
So you've changed the thought, but you haven't changed how your body actually feels about it. So it's a whole nother kind of, you know, approach, which is, you know, what I kind of say is I've just stuck on the word. It's like you're bypassing and you know, the part of the brain that rational mind, because you know, rationality goes out the window when you've got pain.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. And so your limbic system in your brain as well, which is your emotional center, goes into overdrive. So we really work with and support the limbic system to calm it down, to regulate it, to calm the nervous system down, to calm the emotions, to calm the thoughts, to calm the feelings down. And in that, it you know, regulates the body, it regulates the nervous system, and it can help to reduce pain, and quite significantly.
Amazing. Amazing. And so do you think that that's, I was just thinking about like an example. So is that like, you know, when you go into nature and you feel like, well, I know this happens for me, is that if I'm super, super stressed and my mind is going 100 miles an hour, if I go and I sit in nature and I just be still, then I'm much calmer and then I can make better decisions. So is that what you're explaining is in a much deeper level? Is that right?
Yeah, it's a process to actually allow that to occur. So for you, going in nature, sitting, you know, or sitting quietly, you can create that that calms that racing mind, so that you have the space so you can make those decisions. So for a lot of people, it can be quite challenging to not necessarily go into nature, but even to be in nature and to, you know, to switch off and to calm the mind. So I work with people and their brain and their nervous system to actually be able to switch that calming aspect on without having to sit still. Because a lot of people who are in this fight, flight, freeze mode or are traumatized, actually sitting still can actually be traumatizing for them.
Yeah, got it. Yeah. And so what does a typical session look like?
There's no typical sessions. There's no typical sessions because it's all about working with the person with where they're at. So for some people, it might be working on aspects of pain. For other people, it might be working on some of the limiting, you know, beliefs or stories they have about getting well. Because what happens is, that sometimes the stories that we have in terms of, I have been sick for so long, I don't believe I can get well, it's not going to happen to me, I don't deserve it, you know, I don't know how to do it. All of those things can play a really big role in actually you recovering, because you've got these messages that are signaling, you know, from your brain and body to all the cells throughout your whole body to say, I don't deserve to be well. This isn't possible for me. You know, I've been sick for so long. I've got this pain. Doctors have said to me it's not possible. So then then you start to believe that, and that communication goes to your body. So sometimes for people, removing those beliefs and removing those stories, from a neuroplasticity perspective, that's the brain's ability to, to change and to rewire, that itself creates and frees space in the mind, or sometimes it like feels lighter, like this massive load has been lifted within your body. Then the body says, oh, okay. It's just like, you going out into nature, creating that space to calm down. And the body goes, oh, okay, actually, I feel like it's possible for me. And I feel like I can do that now.
Yeah. So that really resonates with me, because one of the things that I found with like my own journey was that I probably went undiagnosed with endo for about 10 years, but it was really the last 2 of those years where things really revved up and got really bad. And to the point where endo ruled my life. I was worried about going to work in case I had a flare up. I was worried about having to cancel on my clients. I was worried about, well, what happens if I get in pain and I'm by myself and I don't have I don't have support. So that was all going on. And then interestingly, after the surgery, and the surgery was successful, then I thought, I'll be fine. But then there was this thought of, now I don't trust my body. I don't trust my body, because it let me down for so long that then I didn't know. It took a while to actually to deal with that, because I thought, I just don't trust that it's going to do what it's supposed to anymore. And so is that something that you can help with?
Absolutely. Because like you said, when you don't trust your body, then you don't necessarily do certain things, because you're like, I'm not going to go out because I don't trust that you're going to be able to have enough energy to do that. I don't trust you to that you're going to be able to support me. So then that signaling and that messaging just reaffirms. So can we just do a little exercise?
Sure.
And for those who are watching, or for those who are listening, then just take part in this as well. It's really, really simple. So I just invite everyone, just as long as you're not driving, to close your eyes for a moment. And I just want you to feel this, see what thoughts, emotions come up for you. No. 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 So yeah, just taking a moment, maybe jotting it down, and just registering what came up for you then.
For me, yeah, it's like a real, like, jarring, like a real trigger. Yeah.
Any particular thoughts?
Oh yeah, like you're not good enough, and like you can't, like you can't do this, and
And how did it feel in your body?
Felt yucky. It felt yucky in my heart.
Yeah. So there's an example of how we have thoughts about certain things or words, and then we have certain feelings and emotions, and you can feel it in your body. So when you go to a doctor and a doctor says, no, this isn't possible for you, or you've got this pain, then, when you think about it, it has emotions and consequences for the body. Let's do the opposite. So again, close your eyes again. Yes. 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 Yes.
Yeah, it's way more powerful. It feels like there's like light coming out instead. Yeah.
So what were some of the thoughts behind it?
Freedom, and like probably excitement. Excitement.
Yeah. And where did you feel it in the body, and how did it feel?
same place, the heart, and it felt like heart opening, whereas the no felt like heart closing.
Yeah. So it's such a powerful exercise. I use it in like most of my workshops, and I just find it so powerful and empowering, so that people actually know and realize and feel that they have the ability to change things, like in the moment, but to be able to work with the body, to be able to support it. So a lot of people don't know how to support their body, what the body wants. But the body can give us so many messages. It can speak to us, it can give us feelings and emotions, and we can work with those and listen to it. So sometimes, the endometriosis or the pain might have a particular message for us. So, we can go down into that particular part of the body and actually ask it and say, okay, pain, often we try to dismiss it. It's this pain, I just want it to go away, it's too much. And so what we dismiss persists. yeah What we dismiss persists. And so when we go down into it, and maybe we have a conversation with it or go and explore it and say, I see you, I know that you're there, and I've been trying to push you away, but actually, what is it that you want? It's really amazing that we can actually get messages from these parts of our body that can then communicate back to us to say, thank you for seeing me. What I need is this. I need you to be gentle. I need you to be kind, or I need you to eat this food, or, I have this memory or this experience that happened when I was younger that I feel trapped in, and I need, support releasing it. So it's really amazing when we go into different parts of the body, the messages that we get, the gifts that we get, and then the healing that we can get.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you got a little bit of that, and I'm guessing potentially the people who are listening and watching, they had certain parts of their body were communicating them with certain emotions. Like for you, it was your heart, and your heart's going, oh, actually, I feel really blocked by this initially.
Yeah. So powerful.
And it's so empowering.
Yeah.
When often what people have gone through in their journey is so disempowering, because practitioners will say, here, just take this pill, or, you don't have a choice, or you're going to live with this forever. And, there's no other options for you.
Yeah. We've discussed this before, that, the diagnosis of endo for a lot of women can be anywhere between, the average is 7 to 12 years. That's a long time to suffer, a long time to not have support, and to not be heard as well. So it's like you said, it's that message that keeps coming in of no, or there's no other way. There's so much negativity around that, and that's what I love about what you do, because you shine, like you help heal, but then there's all this shining of light and beautiful energy that comes in, and all women need that.
Yeah, it's so true. That not being heard, for so long. And everyone deserves to be heard. Everyone deserves to shine their light. And everyone deserves to have the tools and be empowered with what they're going through. And I think, there's a number of aspects. So one is, being able to feel empowered through, a process kind of like I've described, to be able to, take control of their brain, of their body, of their pain, and to be able to change it. But also I think that sense of community is really important as well.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Because
like you're not alone, and we're creatures of connection. We thrive when we're connected, and when we feel loved, and when we can share love and give love.
Yeah. And it actually helps the nervous system as well. So your nervous system, that fight, flight, freeze mode, when you connect with others, so when you have a supportive practitioner like Dee or like me, then that actually helps you to heal. because you feel safe. And when you feel safe, you know, with practitioners or people who are going through similar things and in community, then that has a level of healing as well.
Yes, definitely. Definitely, I agree. Yes, I agree. I feel like that has definitely enabled my own healing, and that's connection is a really big thing for my business as well. And connecting with like-minded people like yourself that also believe in the beauty of connection.
And it's interesting because I did a talk the other day. I've got a little membership that I run, which is a Mind Body Reset membership, which, you know, we kind of go through a number of these things. And someone asked the other day a question in relation to, you know, impulsive behaviors. They said, Lisa, look, I have some impulsive behaviors. How do I overcome them, or how do I make positive choices? And I thought, how do we break this down? Number one, the first thing is that we're not alone.
Yeah.
You know, people just don't talk about this. I mean, who says, hey, guess what? I have these impulsive behaviors. I have problems with eating, or, I have avoidance behaviors. You know, I avoid people, or I avoid pain, or, I overspend and do too much shopping, or, you know, I go to, playing online, or gambling, or drinking, or smoking, or, I've got these habits because I don't feel safe where I am.
Yeah.
You know, I don't feel connected. No one says, hey, I've got these impulsive behaviors, and, you know, and talks about it like that. So the first thing is everyone is not alone.
No, that's right. Yeah. Yeah. And realizing that, you know, the self-awareness has such an important role in the ability to create change as well, is becoming aware.
Yeah. Becoming aware, and that not alone, and there are people out there in your community that can help you feel connected, and that helps with the healing.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And sometimes that awareness comes through that connection in that community.
Yeah, definitely. That's why I have an endo program that's about to launch in probably the end of April, start of May, and that's a big part of it as well, is that connection and that support that you get from a small group, so that you feel like you're not alone. And often people get really funny, or can get funny about sharing things, but then the next person might actually ask the same question, and then everybody benefits from the learning of from one person, benefits as a group.
And when you create a space that is non-judgmental, where there is no judgment, there's so much healing that can come out of that, and so much like freedom from that. That shared experience, and that, oh, you're going through that. And, you know, I used to judge a lot. I used to think, well, you know, why are they saying that? Or why are they doing that? Or why are they not doing that? And then obviously I've been through my own journey, and, you know, a practitioner in, you know, multiple modalities, where I then understand there's always a reason why someone is behaving the way they are, or, you know, doing the things that they are, or not doing the things they are. And often there's like a sense of there's that stuckness. Yeah. Or, you know, there's stuckness, there's shame, there's guilt,
there's trauma.
The trauma underlying all of that is trauma.
Yeah. How do you well, I know we've talked about this, but how do you like track the results with your clients?
Yeah, so what we do is we kind of break down a number of like different aspects in terms of like what's happening for you now, in terms of symptoms, thoughts, behaviors, emotions. So looking at like the current picture, what are some triggers that are coming in? You know, what are things that may have come in before, you know, you got sick, for example. We also look at, you know, your childhood experiences or past traumas, or or past things that happened in your life. So there might be, you know, people have passed away, or, you know, maybe you're bullied in high school, or, you know, something happened at in a work experience. So we kind of build a little bit of a big map in terms of what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
We look at support, what support networks you have, or that boost you up, and then have a look at some of the things that keep you stuck. Might be some patterns or behaviours or thoughts or experiences. So we build kind of this map to kind of really understand what's happening, and then we break down from that. We kind of break down different key aspects and have a look at, okay, you know, some of the symptoms might be really big in terms of pain, or, you know, there might be some really big limiting beliefs, and work on some of those aspects. And so we can track in relation to that overall picture, but also have a point, really have a point A and a point B. So the way that I describe it is like, the way that I describe it is like, you're going on a mountain journey, and you're gonna climb Everest.
Yes.
I visualize it like some kind of massive snow-capped mountain, and where you are now is at that bottom of the mountain with all your pain and symptoms and your current situation, and you want to be at the peak or at the top of that mountain. You want to be looking out, it looks really good, and everyone has a different vision. So for some people who are really stuck where they are, that vision might just be, I just don't want to feel like this. You know, they can't see beyond, you know, the current pain, or, you know, being able to do things, and that's fine. So it might be just, I don't want to be here, or some people might have a greater vision, or, you know, I want to be able to travel, or I want to be, you know, pain-free. I want to, you know, be able to achieve these certain things in my life. So then with each session, we kind of map out, or the person has a sense of how close to their vision are they. So obviously we have those underlying aspects that we're kind of working on through the sessions, trying to, you know, reduce the pain or those limiting beliefs, and then the body starts to move and shift. We know that through research that it impacts the immune system. So there's a particular study that showed over a weekend of some EFT, some emotional freedom technique, that a particular immune marker called SIG-A increased by 113%.
Wow.
We know that in another study of EFT, which is one modality that I use, a 50-minute session showed that there were, I think it was about 72 genes were expressed differently. So they changed in a 50-minute session. So people were measured beforehand, they were measured straight after this 50-minute session, and then 24 hours after. So at the straight after the session, it was a cortisol saliva test, looking at genetics. 72 of those had changed. The next day, 10 of those had remained changed. And the ones that had changed were significant for immune markers and stress reduction. So,
wow,
you know, if you're reducing stress on the body can heal, because when you're in a stress state, the body is then in that fight, flight, freeze mode.
Yeah, which is very common with endo, is that the stress flares the pain, and so that's why, you know, stress management is so important as part of the bigger picture of managing endo.
Yeah. And so often, you know, a lot of people use the term stress management, but actually this particular tool is actually a stress reduction tool. It's not just saying, I've got this pain and here are some ways to manage it. It's actually a way to reduce the pain. And studies have shown the impact on stress reduction, but also pain reduction as well.
Wow.
And so then, you know, when we talk about the mapping, we kind of look at, you know, how after every session, how are things going? How are things tracking? Because the process actually can take 72 hours to 2 weeks to actually integrate in the body. So changes can be happening for quite some time after the session. So some people who come in, and we might do a session on pain, and they might have pain during the session, they may have no pain at the end of the session, or their pain may be significantly reduced. And so then they're like, oh, hang on a minute, I came in with pain and I don't have pain. And then it might be, when they have their next session, oh, how's your pain? Because you get pain, every second day. Oh, actually, no, I haven't noticed. I haven't had any pain. Or it might be, it's been, 3 days now since I've had pain. Or, when I have pain, the pain is less and it's less intense. I've got some things that I can use to reduce the pain, and, it feels a lot more manageable.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we really track as if they're going up the mountain. It's like, how close to your vision or to the top of the mountain do you feel that you are? So, I had a client in the first session who said, I feel like I'm a third of the way there.
Wow.
They're like, you have no idea how powerful and how amazing this session was. I still feel like I've got a long way to go, but this is like a huge chunk of my journey.
Yeah. And then, so when they reach their mountain, then they can set new goals and then work towards newer things and open up lots of new things. So like you said, it might be that the first goals could be the pain reduction, but then it might be that they're working on things to actually achieve their dreams.
Yeah. And it's interesting because what people will often do is, because they're stuck in that, in that pain or that illness cycle, that's all they can see.
Yeah.
And it's like, and they're in a trauma state or fight, flight, freeze mode. And that's okay. And there's no judgment, because the body's actually doing the best it can. It's trying to help, support, and protect. So it's doing what it knows best. So they're like, oh, I can't see beyond that. And that is 100% okay. But when you start removing those blockages to that, then that wall kind of, or that table, collapses. And then clients are like, oh my gosh, I didn't think this was possible. And I can see all these other potentials now.
Yeah.
Oh, Lisa, now I see what you're talking about. Couldn't see this before.
Yes, I love that. I actually wrote a blog about that yesterday. Was that what you're talking about is that 5 years ago, there's no way I would have imagined that my life looks like what it does now. Because 5 years ago, I was in what you're talking about, that where all I could see was the pain, because endo just drove my life. It affected everything that I did. And so once I did the healing and all through the journey, which took time, and it took hard work and dedication and courage and all those things that had to come together, that then it opened up. Like, it's so different. My life is so different now. And that's one of the reasons why I'm really passionate about helping women, is because I want them to understand that chronic illness, you can live with chronic illness and be pain-free and be happy and healthy as well.
Absolutely. That message of hope is so important. And I know that it's a message that you are so passionate about.
Yes.
Yeah. That it is possible. And it is, I used to be there as well, in terms of thinking, I don't deserve to get well. I'm never going to get out of this cycle. And so, do I have 100% health, or the health that I would like to have? No, I'm human. I have to continue to support my body. I need to get the right sleep. I need to take the right herbals. I need to do a lot of the emotional work and the spiritual work. And I guess it's not work, but it's, things to support my body. And sometimes we get out of balance. At the beginning of last week, I had something very, very unexpected happen, which was very, very traumatic for me. So my whole body and nervous system went into, fight, flight, and freeze mode. And it was something that had come completely out of my control. It was someone a hacker had wrote an email through my website about my partner, and shared all this information. None of it was true, but it was just so horrendous. And it was like, oh my goodness, my whole body just went into like shock and freeze mode. And so then what happens? You know, the body gets affected, the nervous system gets affected, the immune system gets affected. So it's kind of like, you know, that experience before with the no, this email coming at me with all this stuff in it was like all these no's coming at me for like 24 hours. And then I did, you know, a lot of the work and a lot of, you know, work through a lot of those layers. And then my nervous system or my immune system went, whew, you know, you've settled now. Actually, we're just gonna, you need time to recover. So it kind of dropped me down to a real low, because I obviously, you know, my adrenaline went so high with that experience that my body couldn't cope with it. And then I just needed to surrender into the experience and know that, hey, I'm going to bounce back. It's going to be okay. It's actually just my body repairing. And so often we don't know that we go through these phases where our body's repairing when we go through those low periods. And so then we're really hard on ourselves, and it's an even bigger hit to our immune system. So it's really being able to work with and listen to the body and surrender into part of those processes rather than just like trying to push, because when we push and we force things, then we don't get better.
Yeah. So what is one thing you wish people knew about chronic disease management?
One thing that I wish, that there are so many ways to healing. You know, there are so many options. You know, I've tried so many things, you know, like you name a therapy or a treatment or a modality or something, you know, I've most likely tried it. So when you find something and it doesn't work for you, or it doesn't resonate for you, or the practitioner doesn't work and resonate for you, find someone else and try something else. And if that doesn't work, find someone else and try something else. Because it could be the modality is not the right modality for you. It could be the practitioner is not the right practitioner for you, or it's not in the right order and sequence. So, you know, a lot of the emotional or body work or a lot of the brain-based work that I do now wasn't really available or known many years ago when I first started. And so, you know, I didn't want to just talk to someone. I didn't want to, you know, talk to do the talk therapy about things, because I knew that wasn't going to get me the solutions. I needed something that was solution based, you know, that could support my body and my immune system and my nervous system and get me out of the stuck place that I was in. But I didn't know what that was. And I wasn't ready for some of this back then. So there may have been suggestions like, why don't you try this energy work, or why don't you try this brain-based work, or why don't you try this emotional? I'm like, emotions? Like, I just need to be better. Like, what herbals or supplements do I need to take? You know, what naturopath do I need to see? What you know, integrative practitioner do I need to see? You know, this emotion stuff or this spiritual stuff, like, what is that? I just wasn't ready for it. So it may be on your journey, you're not ready for certain levels or aspects, or it might be the practitioners are not the right ones. Because also, I think working with practitioners who are also trauma-based and trauma-informed when you have been through so much is also really important. Because sometimes if you work with practitioners who are not trauma-informed, then you can actually be re-traumatized. So the body actually doesn't know the difference between when an experience occurred and when you're talking about it. So if you had a really challenging experience with, you know, say with an experience with a doctor or practitioner where you didn't feel heard and they said you're never going to get better, if you talk about that again, your body thinks it's happening again.
Oh, yeah.
So a lot of people will come to me and they're like, oh, I've tried talking about things, but I feel worse when I talk about things. And that's because the body doesn't know the difference and it feels like it's being re-traumatized. So what we do is we work with the body and the brain in another way to sort of bypass actually that talking, to support the body so it can process it without having to be re-traumatized.
Yeah, which is so important. Yeah. Is there anything else you would like to share?
Is there anything? Oh, we've covered so much. It's so great, Dee, that you are, you're putting on, these talks and these workshops and your course, because people need to know that there are other options available. And, you also are an amazing shining light with your energy, with your passion, with your knowledge, with your approach. And you're so open to, all those different multi-modalities to help and support people.
Yeah. So how can people work with you and connect with you?
So people can find me at my website, which is lisagumieniuk.com, Gumieniuk.com. So there's lots of information there. I've got a whole heap of free resources you can access to, a free course. I've got a mini course, access to work with me one-on-one. And I also have a free support group, a free Facebook group and community, which is a Mind Body Reset community. And I also have a Mind Body Reset membership where, we go through every month. I guide people through various experiences to connect with the mind and the body to help process and clear thoughts, emotions, feelings, stuckness, reduce pain, whole heap of things to support people.
Amazing. Thank you so much for coming on today and sharing everything today. I really appreciate it, and I've loved having a chat with you.
It's been amazing having a chat with you too, Dee. What was your biggest takeaway from today?
My biggest takeaway was the analogy you were talking about, how you bypass. You bypass to heal, and how that getting out of that fight, flight or freeze mode can actually really help to unstick things so that then the healing can actually occur.
Yeah, it's so amazing and so important, and research is just coming out and we're just starting to see, the importance of it and the impact on that. So, if you're stuck, then your immune system is shutting down in your nervous system and your body's not able to heal, but you release some of that and the body's like, okay, I'm ready, let's go, let's heal.
Yes, that sounds amazing.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me on, Dee. It's been an absolute pleasure chatting to you and your beautiful community.
Thank you for coming on. All right. Bye, Lisa.
Bye.